All right, we're back here with 100 Families Pulaski County Alliance. I want to thank you guys for joining and tuning in. We have an amazing guest as always. We will let her introduce herself, but this is my friend and also our partnership with City of Little Rock. So Dana Dossett, thank you for coming, my friend.
Thank you. I am Dana Ducette. That's
and
correct.
What do you do, Dana, for the City of Little Rock? And then we're going to get into your other stuff, too, that you do.
Okay. Well, I am the Director of Community Programs for the City of Little Rock. And often people ask, well, what do you do? I do community programs for the City of Little Rock. It's
Just
pretty
what it
straightforward.
says.
Exactly. Pretty straightforward. Whatever our residents need in terms of improving their quality of life, that's what I do.
How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been for the City of Little Rock for the past 7 years, almost
Okay.
exactly, a little bit, 7.5 years. And I did it with different employers before then, which is one way that I got the job.
Okay. So can you say that helping the community or doing direct service, is that something that's your passion from the heart, or you called to do that? How did you get into all the community service work?
I would definitely say I was probably called into it.
Okay.
And anyone that's in public service, that's just kind of what you do. Now, I have to add this in there. You know, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and we're about public service.
All right, do your thing. What do y'all say?
We say, ooh, ooh.
Delta.
But, yeah.
All right.
But community service and public service, that's what we're really about. And
Yeah.
I would say not only from me, but definitely as an example from my mother, who was a teacher, on down to my brother and my sister, who both are involved in public service.
Okay, and specifically with community service, with the community involvement. So, are you creating programs for the community, or do they? How does that work?
It does. So we not only do we have projects that come directly from our office, like you say, we do have a few things that are direct to the community. One that we're really noted for is our summer youth employment program.
Okay.
We do that every summer, where we offer between 750 or so students who are 16 to 21 an opportunity to do their first job.
Okay.
And that's really important for us, is preparing the future and preparing the students for, future opportunities as far as their career is concerned, but mainly helping them also understand the difference between a job, like going from job to job to job, to actually establishing a career choice, and then learning what it's going to take to be successful in that career.
Right.
So that's some of the direct things that we do. That's the one that we're probably most noted for. We also have neighborhood-based programs that are just like what you would expect your after-school, out-of-school time programs to be. And then also, yes, we do have several opportunities where we allow outside organizations to come to us and say, hey, we've got an idea that we think will work for the community, and is the city in a position to fund that? And I would say right now, yes, we, at the beginning of the year and starting kind of like right now, we're going to be offering lots of opportunities for organizations, both nonprofit and for-profit, which is the first this time, to be able to come up with interesting ideas to help residents in our communities improve their quality of life.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, and we're going to get into that too, just those opportunities, because we do have an alliance and a group of people that are watching that's going to want to know that information.
Definitely, yes, that's what we're looking for.
So you have actually, because you actually help people get funded,
right,
and help them get the money that's there. So you probably made a lot of relationships. You have a lot of friends.
I know, yeah, that's a good thing. Can you, will you, how do I? And that's actually good, because there are a lot of residents in the city of Little Rock that need help. Yeah. And I'm really pleased to be in a position to be able to help them. I tell people all the time that, nothing against public works, but we don't do asphalt, we don't do sidewalks, we do people. And we're trying to improve the quality of their personal lives. And that's just a great place to be.
And you are also working, now correct me if I'm wrong, do you do the reentry population?
We do. So let me tell you my buckets of people that I work with.
Okay, yeah.
So one bucket is reentry, since you already brought them up, and those are returning citizens who are coming from incarceration, or they may just be on paper some other kind of way. If they've been involved in the criminal justice system at all, then that would be considered our reentry clients. Then we also work with youth. Anywhere I'd say from ages 6 to 30, we consider that youth. And youth has gone up to 30, believe it or not.
30.
Only because you find a lot of people between 21 and 30 who are still trying to figure a few things out.
Right.
So things have changed. So we take
That
youth
makes
up to 30.
Okay.
But we also go up to their parents and families. So we include the entire family structure.
I love it.
And then, as I mentioned, for job employment, then we do 16 to 30 as our focus, because we're really trying to help people with their first job. After we get them, off and running, then most of the time they can take over that. So that's another bucket, I'd say 16 to 30 for their first jobs. And then another big bucket would be just your after-school student, those students who need something to do, someplace to go, opportunities to think differently, have different experiences. Again, those are our after-school projects.
Yeah.
So those are kind of our big buckets of people. We also have what's called a disconnected youth. And our disconnected youth are those who, again, they just kind of, they may or may not have finished high school, but they just, again, haven't really figured out what should they do. So they're kind of disconnected from anyone, and they are looking for that helping hand to help them kind of get on their feet and figure out what they want to do in their future. But so we're really trying to, again, help people with their quality of life. And quality of life is looking at, gosh, what do I need to do to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and start really enjoying what the city of Little Rock has to offer and what life has to offer.
Which is truly life-changing. I know we're talking about life, the quality of life, but your job and what you're doing plays a major role in the lives of the people in the community, because it's already hard trying to figure out, okay, what is my purpose? What am I here doing? What am I supposed to do? And then navigating the resources that are there. How do they find those resources? How do they know that it's out there for them? Because a lot of people don't even know that it's available. So let's talk about the impact of COVID. Did that have an impact on your programs? And if so, how? Because I know COVID came in and it was a beast.
It really did have an effect on our programs, and most of all, our people, our residents. Unfortunately, as a city, we had to stop all of our programs, and only because it was, while on one hand we were like, gosh, how do we stop our programs where we may be the only lifeline that a lot of people have? And so it was really a hard decision. But at the same time, how can we be responsible to our citizens to not put them in situations where the virus could be transmitted, meaning while we hated to have to close down our after-school programs, just like the school system, it didn't make sense to have a bunch of students who aren't going to social distance.
Right. That's not happening.
In the same place, so we just had to do it. But what we did do was we picked up, it was a great opportunity for us to pivot and figure out, okay, how can we serve people? So instead of thinking about what we couldn't do, we tried to figure out what we can do.
That's right.
One of the examples that we did was making sure that people had food to eat, because as you know, several students, the only food that they may eat is at school. So if all of a sudden you're not having school or after school programs, what are you doing? So we were really involved in the food security opportunities, making sure we partnered nonprofit organizations with the food banks so that we could expand the services. Because even though there were food boxes going around, if you didn't have a car or a way to get there, how are you going to get your food box? So not only did our street team, I have a street team of people that actually picked up those boxes and took them to people who needed it. Drove people to places where they could get meals. We worked with the bus system to get free bus rides for the people that needed it. There was just a lot of different ways that we tried to make sure that food got into the hands of those that needed it. And then we also worked with the Arkansas Out of School Network to try to increase opportunities that were online. So even though we didn't have after-school programs in person, we tried to make them available online so that they still would be able to participate and enjoy activities outside of the home.
Right. So you had to become very innovative.
We did, definitely.
Do you think you guys became busier?
Yeah, we actually did. So, as you know, just with the advent of Zoom, now you don't have to go anywhere, you've got back-to-back Zooms.
Yes.
So you end up being busier. Sometimes you're on two. I know sometimes I'm on my on the computer, and then I have another one going with my phone. And unfortunately, I have two phones. And truthfully, there have been times I've been on three Zooms Zooms at the same time. Yes.
And that's something. Be like, since you can't come, just get on the Zoom.
Right,
So
exactly.
you're booked.
We really do
Yeah.
get booked. We really do. But I mean, it's a good and a bad problem to have. It's kind of like they say, those first world problems. But it does allow you to, get more work done. I think that we've been able to move ourselves into more different areas than we had before. I even think about the work that we do with you with 100 families.
Yeah.
Because of Zoom or because of some of the other ways that we can do things, then it does allow me to say, instead of having to say, no, I can't do something, to say, yeah, I can do it, but can we meet virtually?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, I can't get there, but hey, if I can meet virtually, I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that too, because a lot of times we always say, well, you're so far across town. Well, let's meet on Zoom, and you can just drop a link.
Right.
And then we can talk about and strategize and do things like that. So as far as now, I guess, is COVID still affecting your programs? Are they picking back up? Like, are they doing?
They're starting to pick back up. So we did go back into full force. So we are now doing that. So that's, our after school programs are back in full force. And that's why we're releasing these new RFP opportunities, because we're ready to go definitely at the beginning of 2022.
Okay.
Definitely ready to go full force into offering even different types of programming, because we're realizing that the same old thing is the same old thing. People really did change during COVID. And so we're looking for those new opportunities, those new ideas, those new ways of delivering services that maybe we hadn't thought about before. The mayor has been very supportive. The city manager has been very supportive of, let's figure out new ways to, we don't want to just do the same thing that we've always done, and that's why even that we're offering it to for-profits, which we hadn't done in the past. If there's a for-profit that has an idea that's going to make a difference and an impact in the community, let's consider it. Let's see what they are coming up with.
Okay.
And so it's an opportunity. I mean, if ever there was an opportunity, this
now
is it.
So are you guys listening to this? This is the time. So when can you go into detail about that now?
I can. So we should, before the second week of December, for sure, we should have those opportunities ready to drop. Because they're so different, procurement is having to look at them differently.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard for procurement. One thing I would like the community to understand is we're not asphalt, we're not sidewalks, so we're not just units like, I need 4 miles of sidewalk. When you're dealing with people, it's a little bit different to figure out how do you hire someone to change a person or their quality of life,
Right.
So procurement is even being stretched to try to figure that out. And so we're just trying to make sure that we have dotted all of our I's, crossed all of our T's, because there's still procurement law that we have to follow.
Right.
And the city attorney wants to make sure we're protected, and most importantly, that the residents are protected. And so we're just trying to make sure that we do that. But the first thing to do is to contact the City of Little Rock's procurement office, because anyone that even applies for a bid has to be a registered vendor. We have to have you in our system. So the thing to do is to do that as soon as possible, so that they can get into the system and then be able to pull down the different bids that we have. Vendors can go in and select which areas of service that they're interested in. And really that's, any business in Little Rock, I think, might want to look into that just to see if we ever have a need that they're already on the vendor list. So that's the first place to start, and they can do that immediately. And then ideally, when we drop a bid, then they would be notified that, hey, there's a bid in there. You might want to go look at it and perhaps apply for it.
Okay. And how long does that process take for once they get that first step?
So the first step, I mean, once they're registering as a vendor, that shouldn't take very long. Maybe 30 minutes, depending on if they already have all their information, sitting right there in front of them. Then the next step is when they're preparing for a bid. Bids are typically 14 to 21 days for people to respond. They're usually, especially for us, we have a pre-bid meeting where we actually go through the entire bid, explain what we're really looking for. It's also an opportunity for people to ask any questions that they have. And I tell people that the time to ask us questions is either before we drop a bid or during that pre-bid meeting, because after the bid comes out or while it's active, we can't answer any questions at all. They would have to do that through procurement. But again, for 14 to 21 days is the general amount of time that they have to prepare their responses. And then usually it takes us about 3 weeks to have those responses reviewed, and then we're making our selections, and then we move into the contract phase. Now, what affects the amount of time that we may be looking at a bid is how many bids we receive. If we get 5 bids, then it's not so hard for someone to review those.
Right.
But just imagine if you have 35 bids to read.
Right. And you have to go through each one.
And you have to go through each one.
And then make a decision.
So then it gets pretty hectic because we have to allow those people time to read 35 bids. And that has happened. That definitely has happened.
And it's a team of you guys that do that?
There is a team of us. So usually we have at least 5 reviewers who have knowledge of and an interest in people development. So they have a background in that area.
Okay.
So it's not just some random people. We try to find people who have an interest in that area and a background in that area so that they really know what to look for
and what will
how
work
to scare
for the community.
And what would what would work
Okay.
and how to score.
And how to score. Okay, so it's based on points.
Right. It's based on
okay.
points on how you answer how you respond to the questions that are in
Okay.
the bid.
Okay. And so the bids, is there a dollar amount? Is it just all across the board?
Oh, they
depending
range.
on
Yeah,
what?
it's all across the board. So
Okay.
we have some as low as 4,500 or up to 4,500 where, I think of a couple of projects that started that way. One would be the, I forget. It's the fishing derby. The big catch.
Big catch. I've heard. Okay.
Okay, it was started this way where he just had an idea that, gosh, I want to offer fishing opportunities
For
to kids.
kids, yeah,
and
which
so
is so cool.
As small as that to up to, and you can ask for about $4,500 for that process, which is our small contract.
Okay.
And then our largest one right now is up to $200,000, and those are
wow.
for community-based intervention projects as we try to make a dent in some of the criminal activity that's happening and some of the violence reduction activities that we have.
Okay.
So we have some real opportunities.
Those are
and so
great
people have
opportunities.
real, if they have some real ideas, we have some
Right.
real money.
That's good. And you said the second week of December
right.
is when they start?
Yeah, they could start looking. First, again, they need
Go
to
ahead
register
and
as a vendor
register.
now.
Okay.
But
Go
yeah.
ahead and register as a vendor.
Right. And then, starting the second week of December, they should be dropped. Some more should be dropped.
And they find those on the City of Little Rock
So on the
page?
City of Little Rock website, you're going
Okay.
to look for procurement.
Okay.
Or you could look up City of Little Rock bid opportunities and find them that way. Or actually, you can go to littlerock.gov/online bids.
Okay.
That takes you directly to it. littlerock.gov/online bids.
And we'll put that in the somewhere on the screen.
Yeah.
So
they can see that.
they
But
can
yeah.
see it and they can click on it or whatever.
Yeah, that's the easy way to get
So
there.
go ahead and do your register, and then the second week of December, start looking for those
and get
opportunities.
Ready. We've got a lot, and then we'll have some throughout the year too. So
Okay.
they can still contact our office and ask what we have available because we're always going to try to have something available.
That's good.
I'm really excited about that because we haven't done it this way in the past.
Yeah.
And now we are. It used to be like one time a year we had something to offer.
Right.
And now we plan to have it throughout the year. We've got summer program opportunities. So any churches or any organizations that might want to have a summer program, they could be thinking about that right now because now's the time to be thinking about summer
That's
next
right.
year, believe
That's
it or not.
right. And how we're going to navigate through
How
it.
you're going to navigate
what are you
through
gonna
it.
do? Yeah.
But now is the time to be thinking about all those different type of opportunities.
right.
And also, if you have an idea, just pitch it to us. Just, and then we can tell you, okay, we think this fits here with this opportunity or whatever.
Yeah, and that's actually an alarm to tell us we are going to end this part of the podcast. But guess what? We're coming back with some more information, and we're going to talk a little bit about reentry, and we're going to talk about financial literacy. This woman right here is so smart and has so much information for you guys. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for tuning in. Come back for the next session.